and welcome to episode 19 of the Teacher's Tea Time podcast. My name is Mark and I hope you're doing well. This podcast is about, by and for anyone who has ever had anything to do with schools and education. That's probably almost everybody. Topics and content in this podcast are listener generated. They come from listeners just like yourself. We are also proud to be a member of Adjacent, a design collaborative made up of educators who dream of a better world for our students and their teachers. Learn more at adjacent.org. I have a mug of tea ready, so let's sit back, relax, and get on with the show. In today's episode, I finish up asking some of my students the big question: what does a professional educator look like? As you may recall, I had my students in their first ever education class consider the dispositions necessary to be a professional educator. Then, in groups, they created posters with stick figures embellished to show how these dispositions might look on an ideal teacher. For example, if they thought they was going to be knowledgeable, they might show that they've got a big brain. If they had caring, they had a big heart. That sort of thing. Remember, for many of these students, this poster presentation was the first time talking about education in front of others. And so I'm really thankful that they agreed to allow me to record this for the podcast at the time. Anyway, from those who have recently left school, what does a professional educator look like?
This is Marshley, and we came up with that name because that's all of our names kind of combined together.
So it shows cooperation.
Yeah.
Okay. Working together.
Okay, and then this quote right here says, "I push you because I want you to succeed." So that's kind of like our teacher. We see her as like being caring and compassionate about what she does and for her students.
And then, so we have this little heart here, and that's to represent like empathy. Like I think being able to empathize with your students, because you're going to have students from all different kinds of backgrounds in life, and so being able to relate and understand them is really important to be a good educator.
Also, we chose like a blazer and like a skirt because I think that's really professional. You know, you don't want to show too much skin. You want to come off as like a professional person.
And then, so we have this clock up here, just chilling, and she's like 30 minutes early, so that shows that you're prepared. You want to be there. You're passionate about your job.
And then, excuse me. Then the book down here just shows organization. You know, that she's ready to teach. You know, she's going to show the subjects that she's going to teach.
And she's like willing to learn, because as an educator, you're going to learn from your students too. So that's a good thing. And then we have stars in her eyes because if you're not passionate about your job, then why are you choosing to be an educator? So that just shows that she has drive and she wants to be there. And I think that's everything.
Cool.
Today, kind of what a professional teacher could look like. And so first we have the attire, just a simple dress, over shirt. And then we have the name tag. And then we have a ruler in hand to show that she's assertive and that she has confidence and that she doesn't let the students kind of walk all over her. The book shows that she is educated, she knows what she's talking about. The smile on her face shows that this teacher is approachable and happy, and I think that all educators should be happy about their job, because if they're not, students aren't. The clock shows that they're, punctual. They're gonna get their lesson plans in time. The dialogue, does everyone understand, kind of shows communication to make sure your students understand. Ask them questions, so they actually can think. And then last, we have the whiteboard. It has, a math problem on there. You get there, you do your lesson plan, and this shows organization and that they're prepared to teach. And that's it.
So this is Miss Teacher, and she has professional retirement and a name badge so everybody knows who she is. There's a heart on her sleeve, so she's really caring and enjoys being a teacher. She has a big smile. She's very welcoming and cheerful and optimistic. She's got big eyes, attentive eyes, so she's always watching and looking for people that need help or have questions. And she has open ears, so she can listen as well.
And then she's open-minded.
She's like, good morning, who's ready to learn, because she's questioning about her class, saying if they are ready and whether or not they're going to have, like, if they're ready to have a good day or not. She is professionally dressed, showing that she's organized enough to come dressed appropriately. She had extra time in the morning, so she made herself a coffee. She's very alert with her eyes. She's got a big old head because she's got a big brain in here. Got a bunch of stuff she's got it down. And she's got a smile. She's ready for the day.
Hello, this is Mr. Smile, because he's smiling, he's happy, he's ready. He's thinking about how excited he is for the day. That's what that bubble's for. This curly hair represents him. We have a bow tie, because he's showing how he's dressed sharply, bow tie showing some kind of personality. You can have a little bit of fun. He's got ruler showing he's ready, prepared. He has a pin, because you never know, he signs some official documents, and he's always on time. He doesn't watch. That's Mr. Smile.
This is our teacher. As you can tell, he's very professionally dressed with his name tag very visible. That shows he's easily identifiable. He's walking down a hallway, everyone knows who he is. He's got his planner right here, which has a plan B in case something goes wrong, which happens a lot in the classroom. You gotta kind of change what you're doing. Just drop of the hat. He's cooperative with his kids. As you can see, most of them are happy. One of them's in trouble, but the rest are pretty happy. And then he can easily delegate a class by the ones that are there.
She's kind of got the fun dress on, and she does have legs and things, so. She has this light bulb on the top of her head because she's a critical thinker. She has this calendar, and I know you all can see it, but it has like crazy meetings with other teachers to show that she's like a team player. She works well with other teachers. She also has parent meetings, and up here it has that statement because in school you say, I see you, I hear what you're saying, and this is what we can do, showing she's a good communicator, that she's also observant, and she also is good at listening to her students. She has this yoga mat because she's flexible. She has this heart because she's very caring and kind. The clock is past 5 because she's diligent, and most teachers don't don't leave when the school day ends. She has her master's degree right here because she's very knowledgeable about what she teaches. And she has a textbook because she has a growth mindset. She's always learning about her field and how she can better herself. She has a seating chart because she's organized, and she has a plan B, like kind of lessons down here because, you know, when you have lessons, they don't always go how you want them, so she's adaptive. Oh yeah, she has big eyes and big ears because she's observant, and she can also hear everything. The teacher needs to see and hear everything. She has these kind of fun like designs on her dress because we think when we work with like early childhood or elementary kids, they want to have fun and excited and be in a stimulating environment, and so that kind of creates that. Oh, and she has a crayon because she's creative and she works one-on-one with her kids, like she's doing the assignments with them. Yeah, that's it.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, this is Tim. You can't see his name tag, but his name is Tim. Tim has a light bulb next to him because he is very, like they said, bright and creative. He has a speech bubble that says, okay, I can work with that because he's flexible and he's able to like adapt his schedule to meet other teachers' needs as well. He has a clock, his only says 3 because he's either cheering because it's the end of the school day or he's up at 3 a.m. and he's ready to go. So he's on time, he's diligent. He has, what do you call them, like a foam finger, and it says kids first because he advocates kids' needs in their education. He has a planner because he's organized and he makes sure that he's on time and knows what he's doing at all times. And he has, this is a, what do you call that? Like a hourglass, there we go. Because he's patient. He loves patience. And then he has big ears, mostly to fit his big head, but he's also a good listener. And his big glasses because he can see the potential in his students. Yes, that's Tim. That's what our future looks like.
Okay. Go on in.
This is Mr. Garrett. Okay. You can see he's bald on top, and he's got some wrinkles in his forehead. He's been doing this for a long time, and he lost all of his hair because he cares about his students so much, and caring about your students is not easy. He's got big old ears because he's a really good listener and he hears everything that goes on in his classroom. His tie is a little bit short, but it's also like matched up with his buttons, and he's very well organized because there's nothing falling out of his briefcase. He's well dressed. His shoes match his belt, so he looks professional. And he's always ready to help his students. He's got extra pens and pencils in his pocket. That's Mr. Garrett.
Unfortunately, we didn't name our teacher. We made the mistake of using markers, obviously. Pink is not a good color for lips. But you can see our teacher's really happy, excited to be there. He's well put together. His bow tie makes him look super classy and hip and everything. And his bow tie matches his shirt. He sees all the students and he hears all their questions because he's got a lot coming at him. He's got kind of small ears, but he hears everything. They're almost like
He's got an apple on his desk because sometimes whenever you have lunch as a teacher, you gotta eat it on the fly because you're doing probably 2 different things.
There's a whiteboard here, so he can teach his students. Then there's music notes over there for like any music that might be playing to keep his classroom fun.
He also has a pencil in his hand because he's always ready to work with his kids. They have a question about, I don't know, anything.
Okay, so our teacher is always thinking about what she can do, how she can improve, what her students need. She uses her eyes to see what they need and see how she can adapt. And then again, all that being using her ears to listen to the needs of students, listen to her coworkers, just communicate well all around. Same with her mouth, she uses that for. Her nose, we thought, was for like personal classroom hygiene. No one wants to be around like a smelly teacher or in a gross classroom. She has jazz hands because she's enthusiastic to be there, excited for the day. She has her satchel to carry all her supplies in, make sure she's really prepared. She's dressed professionally with black slacks, top and shoes. And then she uses her feet to always walk around and engage with her students. It's no fun when your teacher just kind of sits and talks to you. It's better when they come and work with you. So yeah, that's our teacher.
Alright, our teacher accepts feedback, has a positive mind, and she problem solves, and she also has big eyes so she can see everything in the classroom.
A good teacher is happy, and she's a great communicator, but the first step to great communication is being a good listener. And the words that come out of her mouth whenever she's communicating are kind words.
Other things that a good teacher possesses is being patient and being adaptable to students, working with different types of students, being compassionate, and dressing professionally to make a good impression.
A good teacher also works well with others and has creativity to have a good classroom.
Thank you.
our teacher. Brain's showing because he's a critical thinker. He has good looking eyes because he's a good observer. He sees everything in the classroom. Also has big ears. He's a good listener. And those are two really important things in the classroom, just to know what's going on. He has a nice smile because he has professional language. So that's just like talking to the students, being professional about everything. And he's also a good communicator with his coworkers and everyone else. He has a bow tie because he's professional. He has a heart right here because he's caring. He cares about students. He cares about school. Snapchat, professional social media. So like when you're a teacher, you can't just be posting like you're partying and drinking and stuff. So you have to be smart on what you're posting on social media. He has a boxing glove. He's a child protector. So when they're in your classroom, they're your responsibility. So you have to look out for them. And he has cool, fun socks. So everyone knows he's enthusiastic about being there and has fun in the classroom.
Good. Well done.
Okay, our teacher has good problem solving skills, so we have ears to show that. And then we have a flower to show growth mindset. Big ears because he's a good listener. We have a hand because they always need to be a helping hand in the classroom. We have a big heart because every teacher needs to be really caring to other students, and our teacher is appropriately dressed.
Cool. So thank you. It's interesting how that presentation just before last talked about social media. I will have no one start trying to trawl my social media profile. It could be a bit embarrassing. Anyway, as we navigate having to teach, learn and parent in multiple modalities caused by a global pandemic, I can't help but notice how often these students pointed out that teachers needed to be flexible, they needed to be organised, and they needed to care. Even in the before times, before the pandemic. And if you're listening to this in the future, the after times, after the pandemic is over, I'm sure you'd agree that these are key dispositions for all educators to possess. My colleagues in the adjacent collaborative are focusing their discussions on issues of professionalism and the many expectations thrust upon teachers, often as a result of systemic or personal or societal or administrative pressures that influence the profession. As many of us will attest, there is no one answer to the question of what a professional educator looks like. The word professional is often a term used to place pressure on educators, when in reality the field has been slowly and systematically deprofessionalised. So how the next generation of teachers embrace their status, I think is going to be key. Certainly a topic we're going to revisit in the future. But until then, that was episode 19 of the Teachers Tea Time podcast. This podcast is a proud member of Adjacent, a design collaborative made up of educators who dream of a better world for our students and their teachers. We create, write, talk, teach and learn about the things that matter most in education. To find out more, point your browser to www.adjacent.org. That's www.edjacent.org. For me, it's the stories of teachers, students, and school communities that matter. As such, this podcast is only possible with the help and support of its listeners. Please leave positive reviews wherever you are able. If you're an iTunes or a Spotify subscriber, leaving a good review can really help our visibility. Also, please don't keep this podcast to yourself. Tell your friends to subscribe and listen too. One thing we've all got in common is that we've been to school. So if you'd like to contribute to the pod in any way, if you have a story to share, long, short, tragic or comic, if you have comments to make about the podcast or just want to say hi, you can send an email to teachersteatimepod@gmail.com. I love to read what you have to say. Or if social media is your thing, you can follow me on Twitter @MarkDiakop and on Instagram @MarkDiakopoulos. You can find suggestions for topics, copies of the show notes, and you can download previous episodes of the podcast at www.teachersteatimepod.com. The podcast artwork was created by Phaedra. Opening and closing music is by Brian Boyko. It's been my pleasure to be your host today. Thank you for listening.